Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Old Show. I am so happy to have you join us. This is the show where we talk about aging because, we're all getting older every single day, and we talk about the fears, the challenges, the joy, and the beauty in getting older. And I think for me, growing into the person that I want to be. And I think for everybody, it's a little different, but I'm also joined with my daughter, Lexi Harrison. Lexi, welcome.
Thank you.
I know I'm welcoming you like you are a guest here, but you could chime in at any time.
Well, you're really digging into me not doing any work here.
No, I know, because, right, don't you agree that getting older, there are the fears, the challenges, the joys, and the beauty, and sometimes, hopefully, all of those things bring us to a place where we feel fulfilled and purposeful. And for me, it's feeling whole. As I get older, I feel more whole. As a 30-year-old, do you feel like you are evolving into that whole human being?
I'm certainly not there yet, but I feel like I'm evolving. And I have heard, I feel like, I don't know if it's because of the age that I am or was, but I feel like I have been hearing in the past couple of years that your 30s are better than your 20s, which did make me feel better because I was very scared to enter my 30s. And then people started saying that and I started believing it. So I'm getting there. I still feel a little bit like a lost 20 something, but only a couple months in. So we'll see.
Right. Are you like looking at your phone right now as we're chatting?
No.
Oh, I saw you looking down.
Looking at myself.
Oh, you look really good.
I'm looking away. Darren makes fun of me because I hate to look at myself at the gym.
Oh,
People go to the gym and they love to check themselves out. I despise seeing myself work out. So I am the person who has my back facing the mirror because I know my form is good because you're my mother. So I don't need to check my form. And I don't like looking at myself in general. And in the gym, like I've never looked worse. My hair is a mess. I'm not wearing makeup. My face is bright red. I'm sure I make disgusting grunting faces, but I don't know because I don't look. So this is not super pleasant. I'm trying to just
no, you need to look at me when we're talking because we're having a conversation. So Lexi, let me just give you a little bit of background. This is the theme of the show, is what I opened up with. And I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Jody Harrison Bauer, and I am Lexi's mom, and I'm 62 years old. And Lexi and I decided to create this podcast because we talk about getting older all the time. Everybody does. And there are always all these articles and information out there about what to do in order to stay younger longer, feel your best as you age. And I think that with so much information out there, we just wanted to jump on and share our perspectives, being 30 and 62, and the difference of opinions, perspectives, fears, and everything else I discussed. So it's funny that you're talking.
I disagree with you. I don't think that's why we started it.
Why did we start it then?
I think that we started it because my whole life, people have stopped you in the streets. Oh my God, you look amazing. You look so young. What do you do? What do you do? What do you do?
Are you making fun of me?
No, no matter what age you were, I feel like you have always been, or like once you hit a certain age, I don't think people were stopping you when you were in your 20s or a teen. But let's say as long as I've been around, so your 30s on, people have been stopping you to tell you that you look amazing and ask what your workout routine is, what you eat, what your skincare routine is. And that's still very much going on today. You share a lot of that on your Instagram page. And there is a lot of noise around aging, but no, a lot of it is fear-based. And I don't think a lot of people are talking about the good parts of it. And there also aren't a ton of voices on the internet of women in their 60s, postmenopausal women, talking about what it's like. So it's a lot of millennials and elder millennials that kind of dominate the
space,
social media space regarding aging. And while that's really helpful for people like me and the people younger than me, there's a whole group of people that then don't have that person who's already been through it to kind of guide them, and also with a positive spin to tell you, hey, it's not that bad, it's not that scary. But also, if you are scared of wrinkles, here's the Botox. Like, if like being honest about it. But I think the biggest reason is that there aren't a lot of people your age talking about this on the internet, and I'm just here to kind of help balance.
I see. Okay. So I do recall having that conversation with you. We have a lot of conversations. Lexi and I talk probably daily, unless you don't want to talk to me. So that happens every once in a while. I, of course, always want to talk to you. But you're right. And I think, and we have discussed this briefly, but not on the show, that the reason that there are not a lot of voices on social media platforms such as Instagram, maybe TikTok, because women that are my age don't go on those platforms. However, I do think they're jumping on because I don't know how long Instagram's been around, 10 years, maybe, that the people that are on there are aging.
Getting older.
We're getting older. So they're
Yeah.
talking about different things, like the millennials who are now turning 40. Well, they're not millennials anymore, but the women that are turning 40 are talking about, oh my goodness, this is 40.
But I do think that the boomers, they're there. I mean, if Zelda could find and listen to your podcast, then I think that the boomers can figure out Instagram, and they have. So your career is Instagram. So I think there are certainly some of them out there.
Yes, for sure. And I have found, but I think that they're coming around, that they're finding that, oh, somebody asked me, well, what's a podcast? Somebody who was about 5 years older than me. I'm like, it's like a radio show. So, oh, well, where do I listen to it? Well, have you heard of Spotify? Yes. Okay. So you go in there and you search this show. I have another show called Fearlessly Authentic also. So you go in there and you just search it. So yes, I think that because we are living longer, because we are healthier, that women, because we're talking specifically about women want to feel young. They want to feel their age. They want to preserve themselves. They want to preserve their mind, their body, their soul, because inside we still feel younger. And I think I could speak, that way for many, many women. But then there are the women your age who, I don't.
Younger.
Do you want to be younger? Is that what you just said?
I said feel younger.
Feel younger. Okay.
Or
Why do you
like
feel?
Preserve the youth.
Right. So
I don't think anyone who isn't a teenager is like racing to the next age.
Right.
Like, I think by the time you hit 20, or let's call it 21, because people like to drink, you're like, I'm good. No one's really running to the next age.
No.
So, and you hear a lot of that on Instagram, from the people being like, I'm embracing my 40s, I'm embracing my 30s, my 50s, whatever. I think people embrace it once they're there. I don't think anyone is really sprinting towards the next age because they can't wait to be there.
That's interesting. Yeah, I wasn't sprinting to turn 60. I wasn't like,
you were pretty annoying about turning.
Well, no, because I like celebrating birthdays.
But like,
and that was a big milestone.
So. It was like, what she got to hide. No, Mom, you did a 60-day countdown to your 60th birthday. 60 days is so long.
It was a really long time of creating content for 60 days straight. Yeah, that would be interesting. I know. Oh my goodness. Can't believe I did that.
You were really into turning 60, but I think that's because you were like, look at me. I'm not what 60 looks like. I'm not your grandma 60, which is good.
Right. And I wasn't like saying it like, look at me. I was like, this is attainable if you have this, and this going on.
And you didn't want to lie about your age, like some people we know.
Oh.
I'm not going to say it on here, but a lot of people lie about their age.
I'm trying to think of who you're referring to. Somebody
Oh,
we
come on.
know.
We can't do this in the middle of
Okay. No, that's the thing about me because, all right. So when I was younger, I always looked younger. So when I started getting older, like mid 50s, post menopause, I saw visible signs of aging. Like for the first time in my life, I looked at myself in the mirror and go, I'm getting older and I need to, how do I slow down this aging process?
Well, and you got really upset, and people have still think that you look younger than you are. But
Yeah.
I think in your 50s, people would tell you looked like you were in your 30s. And now in your 60s, people are telling you that you look like you're in your 50s.
I'm getting 40s. Lexi, I am. I mean,
Then-
I don't, I had a woman on Saturday night tell me that she thought I was in my 40s and she was
Okay, I
60.
mean, I would love to look like you at 60. So
Right. I mean, but here's the point. The point is I'm not trying to look younger. That's what that started
no,
this whole
you
thing
just
off
want to look,
saying.
you want to feel like you.
Right. And so if somebody gives me the compliment, oh, you look younger, I'm like, I'll take it. I'm not going to say
Right.
no.
And
So
you
that's
have
my
said-
point.
You have said many times before, I don't want to look like my daughters. I don't want to look like I'm in my 30s. Like, you're not trying to fool people. You just,
Right.
the version of you that you feel most like probably doesn't look like a completely unaltered 62-year-old woman.
Right. And there's a part of me that says, maybe, I am embracing the age that I am because I can't be younger and I don't want to be older. So I am embracing where I am now. And sometimes I think maybe I should just throw the towel in and just go, but there's vanity, right? There's vanity. And like we can talk very openly and frankly about
Outside matching the inside.
right. So the vanity, I used to feel embarrassed that I wanted to look good. And a lot of women judged me, so I felt shamed for it. And
I felt that.
you have felt that?
Yeah, but I don't care. I'd rather look good or look what I think is good. Some people might think I'm prettier.
What if they said?
Nothing done. Oh my God.
No, I don't know. No, I can't believe that. What, that you're a diva?
Yes, I'm a diva. I'm your child, but I would rather do the things that I like to do to make myself feel good.
That's a
Like
confident
wear
woman.
makeup. I wear makeup more frequently than a lot of my friends. So I used to sometimes be embarrassed about that. I don't care. I think my friends who don't wear makeup look gorgeous without makeup. I don't feel I like the way I look better with makeup on.
Yeah.
And that's fine. I like the way my hair looks better when I color it. So I do that. And there have been times when I've been embarrassed of that. But now maybe this is my 30s, but now I'm like, I don't care. This is how I feel better about myself. And when you feel better, everything is better. So,
you've always been a little stubborn. And not stubborn, but like you've always known. It's interesting because of the private conversations we have, but you've always been very, very strong on the direction that you want to go in.
really,
Yeah, believe it or not, yes. But going back to the aging and the judging of how we want to age, I think that's something that a lot of women who have been judged for looking good for their age have felt shamed. And I think that's really wrong. And I still, at 62, struggle sometimes with, well, I don't want to look that good because I don't want that person to not feel good. You know what I mean? Like dimming your light for another person. But I don't think I surround myself with those people anymore.
Yeah, you do have a way of finding those people. But they talked about this on the new Sex and the City, which I told you to watch, which you haven't watched.
I thought, did they cancel it?
I don't know, but their episode's coming out right now, the second season.
Okay, all right. I need to listen. All right, I'm writing that down so I don't forget.
Carrie, who lost her husband, runs into this other woman who was from the original series, and she lost her husband as well. And they're talking about grief and dealing with that. And the woman says that the way she made herself feel better was to get a facelift.
Mhm.
She's like, that's what I did to make myself feel good. You go do what makes you feel good. And you could see that Carrie, who, by the way, Sarah Jessica Parker, I'm sure has had some work done.
Mhm.
Carrie's like judging her a little bit for the facelift, I think. But then Carrie goes shopping and she buys like 15 pairs of shoes because that's what Carrie Bradshaw does to make herself feel good. And it's kind of the same thing that we're talking about. If I want to wear makeup to feel good about myself because that's how I feel like the best version of myself, but someone else wants to not because that's how they feel like the best version of themselves, like that's fine. It's like how some women go gray and some women never would. When you were talking about the how sometimes you're like, maybe I should just all let it go. And I thought about your mother who had her hair done and her nails done her whole entire life. And when she was in a nursing home after being paralyzed from having a stroke, she stopped getting her hair colored for a little while. I don't know if it was by choice.
No, it was during COVID. It was during
Okay.
COVID because she always
then
had
it
her hair
doesn't really
colored.
apply, but she was so pissed in her 80s seeing that gray
Right.
hair come through for the first time. She did not want us to see her with her
No.
gray roots showing. And
her nails done. She would get her nails done too.
she was still getting her nails done during COVID.
Yes.
She had friends in there who would do it for her. But the hair,
She slipped him a 5.
but like some people, it just doesn't work for her. She wanted to have her black hair. It was part of her identity. She probably didn't feel like her without her black hair. Not, I mean, she would have looked beautiful with gray hair too. That's just what felt like her.
And you know, her whole life, I grew up watching my mom being judged for wearing bright colored clothes, driving a sports car. She was driving a Mustang and then a Corvette. And all the other women her age, 60 and over, were driving, you know, good cars like a Toyota Camry and a Honda Accord. And my mom would show up at the right. And my mother would show up at the country club and she'd drive up there in her yellow, you know, Mustang. And her quote unquote friends would be like, Rhea, don't you think it's time to like trade it in for, you know, a regular car? And she goes, this is my regular car. I know, I'm so much like her in so many ways, right?
So she was driving a yellow convertible until she had her stroke and couldn't drive anymore. So into her
No. She had the stroke. I mean, I'm sorry. She had the Mustang, the convertible, the Corvette, and then she had that other yellow car.
Yes, but that's not really
remember.
relevant to the people who don't know us. So I was just expediting.
Okay. Right. She drove a sports
She
car.
was driving a yellow sports car until she could no longer drive.
Yes.
And I was recently telling someone about when you would show up to school in your, I believe it was a purple convertible.
No, it was black BMW, a black BMW convertible. Never, Alexis. Alexis, I've never owned a purple car in my life. That's disgusting.
It wasn't purple. It was like a light, like gray periwinkle. It sparkled.
That was the Expedition. That was that big freaking truck.
No.
Lexi, I had.
You would show up either way in your convertible and your little outfits and
the mothers hated me.
And the boobs and the tight dresses. And yeah, the mothers.
This was 2003.
Right. So, I mean, the apple doesn't really fall far from the tree.
So who do you think's going to be like me?
Your other daughter.
You think you're going to be driving a regular car and show up with mom hair, whatever that means?
No, but I'm not going to be the like slow motion scene pulling up in my convertible and getting out in my sexy dress.
I wasn't trying to be sexy. So that's the whole thing.
Really?
I did it
when you showed up to Parents' Day at camp in your Juicy Couture terry cloth shorts and your white with your new boobs. You weren't trying to be sexy.
I wasn't. Okay. I was trying. Okay, so let me tell you a story. You've heard this story before, and this is where this all stems from. When after I got divorced, 2000, we're talking 2003, 2004 to 2007.
I feel like the dates aren't that relevant. How old were you?
I was 42 to 46.
Okay,
and
let's go like
let's do it like that. Let's say 43 to 46, because it was 3 years. I decided I had been out of I had workforce for years, even though I had been side hustling in the fitness industry, but I went all in for fitness and training clients. And then as a side hustle, well, the training was the side hustle, but the real hustle was wanted to be a sales rep, and that's where I was going to make my money. I'd never sold eyeglasses ever in my life. I had a huge territory, and I would go and I would make cold calls, which I loved to do. People either hate it or love it. I love walking into some place and introducing myself. And I would walk in, yes, with my tight dress on, high heels, hair extensions, boobs, the whole thing. My boobs were out, but they were there. And I would come to the gatekeeper, which was usually a miserable middle-aged woman my age, who was a single mom and just hated life, hated her job, hated her kids, hated her life. And I come in all perky and I say, hi, and I introduce myself, and I'd want to speak to the person handling the eyeglass sales or the doctor. And they would always tell me that person was busy. And these were big. I really wanted to get into these doors. And so finally I'm like, a light switch went off, and I'm like, you know what, Jody, this isn't working for you. Try something else. So I decided to go in to these same couple of places where the woman was miserable and hated me and never let me come in. I walked in there with my hair a mess, no makeup, baggy dress, flat shoes.
I don't believe you.
Oh my God. I wish I could introduce you to these women, and they let me in. But you know what bothered me about that, Lex? Like, even though I was able to get in, like, it still brings back, like, I have PTSD from this, because it's part of like my story is they judged me, didn't know that I could help their business or anything like that, but let me in once they didn't feel threatened by me. But what bothered me about that was that I wasn't being myself. I didn't use the word authentic back then, but I wasn't being myself. And I thought that's when, after a couple of years of doing it, I said, you know what, enough of me wearing a mask every single time I go to make a cold call or I'm making sales calls, because now I'm really dumbing myself down. Now I'm wearing a bag over my head, a baggy dress, long sleeves, like Oompa Loompa, until I get in the door. And then once I get in the door, I could start dressing. But it bothered me that I had to not pretend that I had to dim my own light in order to get in. And that's when I said, this isn't for me, and I think in so many times in life, like, have you ever felt like you had to dim your light for somebody else?
No, I'm not one of those dim my light people.
Lexi. You're so cute.
I might be walking around telling you
don't even
you can all settle down. Maybe everyone else can just relax. No, I've never felt the need to dim my light.
Well, how do you feel about people doing that? Like as your mom, does that make you feel sad?
I guess.
Okay. All right.
Yes, of course. But like, I don't know. I'm not one of those people too much, so I can't really relate, but I think everyone should be able to have the space to be themselves.
Right. That's a very good conclusion to this conversation. I want to go back to talking about what you said at the beginning about how nobody's rushing.
Today, Mom.
The topic was fear. Okay. Fear stops us. We are co-hosts, but I'm the one who has to come up with the content, and I'm the one who has to come up with the theme of the show. So my theme today,
professional podcast host, doing this for 3 years.
I don't sound like I am. Make sure also, let me just throw this in, because I forgot to add in there, to please remember to rate, review, and subscribe. Give us a 5-star rating, and we would love to hear from you. So please comment and share with your friends, because I think everybody needs to have these frank conversations about getting older. But fear stops us from doing things at any age. So I want to know from you, you're now 30. Do you think there's something you can't do that you're afraid to do now that you're 30 that maybe you should have done before you turn 30? Or do you see anything getting in your way?
I don't think that I needed to find a partner before 30, but I do feel now like the clock is ticking, which is stressful to find someone and have baby.
Please don't think like that.
And I recently am still in the process of going through a career transition. And it does feel as though I can't just do anything. I know that it's not too late to start from the bottom, but it does feel too late to start from the bottom, even though I know that's not true. Does that make sense?
Yes. So in your mind, intellectually, you know that you can make a career change if you wanted to. Kind of scares you. Intellectually, you know it's fine. You're still young enough. You're young enough at any age.
But it's probably the keeping up with the Joneses. I don't want to feel behind. I don't want to be making an entry-level salary after not for this many years. I don't want to feel like I'm falling behind. So that I think is a big thing that you go through in your 20s and I guess now 30s as like life is shifting a little bit later, that I don't feel really happens at other ages, because up until for the whole time that you're in school, so for some people that's until 17, 18, for some people it's 21, 22, 23, you're on the same path as all of your friends and all of your peers. You're all at the same stage. It's an even playing field. And then in your 20s, things start to go in totally different directions. Some people go to school for more time. Some people go for less. Some people volunteer. Some people get big jobs right away. Some people have to work their way up. Some people get married really young and start having kids. And so all of your friends that you and your peers that you grew up with, that you were always on the same page as, start going off on different pages. And that's when you can start to feel, quote unquote, behind. Because if, for example, not all of my friends, but a lot of my friends right now are engaged or newly married.
Right.
I don't really feel behind in that sense, because I'm happy with the relationships that I've had. And I still feel like I have, quote unquote, enough time to get married. But I do feel like if I were to suddenly be enter a completely new industry, which I don't want to do, I'm just using this as an example, to start a completely new industry and start as an intern at 30 years old, I would be a little embarrassed. And I would feel like I did something wrong, or like I fell behind, or like I made a mistake and now I have to make up for it. So I think fear and shame are probably very closely intertwined. And I think that that's very common, again, more so in your 20s and 30s than I think once you're in your 40s and 50s, there's less of that comparison timeline, and people are more off in their family or individual units than they are like, got to be on the same page as the friend group, as the group chat, as like the college roommates. It's just a little different.
I didn't realize, obviously I know these things that you're talking about, and thank you for sharing that. No, you're so cute. I really appreciate it. 30 is a great time to transition to a new career, because it's a very normal time to change careers, because what are you laughing about?
You're just giving mom advice right now.
No, I'm really not. No, I'm really not. Think about it. There are so many things. So we get out of college, we have a career. I can't speak for myself because I had your sister at 28, and I worked until I popped a month before I had her. So I worked for 6 years.
For that month before you had her.
I'm embarrassed to say. I laid in the sun. And I got the house ready. I mean, there's a lot to do before you have a baby, but your dad was like, yes, take the month off before you have the baby. I mean, we didn't know what we were doing. Like, get
No,
the
I love
baby.
that. I'm here for it.
She was born in June. It was great. I just laid in the sun. I had melasma all over my face and body. I was disgusting. I was just disgusting. Anyway, but I think that whole, you can't change your feelings, but I think that whole feeling of you need to be at this point doing this thing, I think 30 to me is a very normal time in a person's life to reevaluate where they are in their workplace. Okay.
Or just their life in general.
In their life. So if they've been in a relationship for 5-6 years and it's kind of hard to keep it going, maybe that's the time to cut it off. I think 30 is a beautiful, in your 30s for me is just a really time for you to come together as a woman, figuring things like you're going to figure it out in your 30s. And that's the cool thing about being in your 30s. It's a very cool decade. It might be a little scary, but like every decade's a little scary. What?
Said unless you don't.
Unless you don't what? You will figure it out. We all figure it out. But that's it's not an interesting fear. It's a very normal fear. I was talking to somebody today before we did the show. I was getting yes, I do have lash extensions and I have gel nails because my nails are soft. I used to say I'm the most real person you'll ever meet except for my boobs and my nails. But now I have to say my lashes and my hair. Anyway.
Retire that line.
I should just retire that line. Exactly. So again, going back to, you need to age the way you want to, and I shouldn't feel embarrassed to be a little vain. And I think that's what it comes down to. I think that's where older women my age judge women my age. They're like, come on, Jody, just embrace your age. Like, let your hair go gray. Who gives a shit anymore? Well, I give a shit. I think my husband would give a shit. Like, I want to look at myself in the mirror and say, I like me. I find myself to be.
You don't like the gray hair. Some women rock the gray hair.
Absolutely. And I wish
really good on some people.
Right. I agree 100%. Okay. So going back to what I was saying about getting my nails done. So there was a 16-year-old girl there, the daughter of the woman who does my nails. And she is
always come back with these big stories from the nail salon.
Well, women talk. It's a place where women talk. I'm not sharing names. Anyway, she's
not in New York. No one talks. Everyone has headphones.
She's beautiful. And I said to her, I was telling her a little bit about like I had to get out of there by a certain time to fix my hair. And I said to her, she said, what's your podcast about? So I told her what I was doing with you. And I said, do you have any fears about getting older? She's 16. She's going into her senior year of high school. And she said, now this is a girl who's literally drop dead gorgeous and fit, everything, smart. And she goes, well, I do worry about like what I want to do for a living. So even at that young age, you still like worry / fear about something in the future. So I think no matter what age I wasn't debating that, but I thought that was interesting because when I was 16, I didn't worry about anything until that day.
Oh, well,
like I never worried about the future. I never.
That's crazy. I was like pulling all-nighters, writing term papers and like panicking about the rest of my life. So how nice for you.
But do you think that's normal? Do you think, I mean, so if we're polar opposites, I worry a lot more now because I have daughters and everything else. But like, even when I met your father, I didn't.
Extreme.
What?
I think we might be two ends of the extreme.
I think so too.
Yeah, I think most 16-year-olds are worried, but they're not like a ball of panic.
Yeah.
But you being like, I never worried about anything until that. Like, what are you, like a character in like a teen movie from the 60s?
Oh, look.
Walk in, flip my hair and everything's fine.
It kind of was.
It
kind of was that way.
This is why women hate you.
Kind of was that way.
Yeah, I hate you now too.
Yeah.
That's
Anyway,
probably for you. That was not my experience.
no, I know I raised you, and I don't know why you're like you are worried about. Here's my advice to you, Alexis. Stop worrying.
It's not a phone call. We're still
I
on a
know. Stop worrying. All right. So I want to also talk about, because we only have a few minutes left. Believe it or not, this has gone by very, very fast. What do you think about, or what do your friends talk about? Do they ever talk to you about, oh, I'm getting older, Lexi. Oh, I worry about this. Do any of your friends who are the same age have concerns that you do?
I don't think anyone talks like that. Oh, and older.
All right.
No, no one talks like that. I mean, people talk about like their bodies hurting more,
Oh,
or like
really?
not being able to party like they used to, like not being able to drink as much or stay out as late.
Right.
There's a lot of talk about Botox.
Okay.
I seem to be the only person I know suffering from gray hair at 30, although it started at 22, so I'm an expert now.
Yeah, well, you get that from your grandmother.
Yeah, the big topic of 30s, I think, like aging wise, has been fatigue and Botox.
Stress?
Not really.
Not really.
No, I mean, I don't think, obviously everyone's life is stressful in their own way, but my friends are doing pretty well.
And okay, so women my age don't necessarily share the things that they're worried about, and don't share things they might do to themselves, like Botox, fillers, facelifts, brow lifts, hair extensions, whatever it is. They don't openly share it. And what I hope comes from the discussions that I'm having on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and even on the show is that women do want to step up and share a little bit more than they are, because I think women want to know. I want women to learn that we should have a safe place to talk about. I know that sounds very kumbaya, but I really, really wish for that. Like, honestly, Lexi, you know that when I die, I wanted to say that I was the most wonderful mother and that I helped women, really, seriously.
First I'm hearing of this.
No, ask Frank. Frank's my husband. Okay, keep going.
I do think the younger the generation, the more open. So I do think it's different because it's I would say it's less quote unquote embarrassing to do things to look younger the younger you are. Like, I think there's less shame around getting Botox in your 30s than there is in your 60s, which doesn't really make sense. But I do think that's the case, where I feel like if I compliment someone's skin or their hair or their lashes, say, oh, thanks, I just got Botox, or oh, thanks, I got a lash lift. They're not just like, thank you. Like, they're very quick to be like, it's almost like when someone compliments your dress and you're like, oh, thanks, it was on sale. Like this, like you like word vomit, you have to tell them. And I find that to be the case with people my age for the most part.
Yeah, I think
They're not coming out necessarily and being like, hey, just came from Botox. But if they are, then they'll tell you, or if you compliment something, they'll say, oh, it's this. If your lips look great, they'll say, oh, I just got filler last week.
Right. And I do love that about your generation, that it's kind of become normalized to, okay, I'm in my 30s, I might need Botox. Oh, my lips are getting thinner, I might need filler, and so on and so forth.
We don't need, we want.
Oh,
no one needs Botox. No one needs filler. We want it.
Yes, yes. When I say they think they need it, it's a want. I mean, some people do need Botox, Lexi. Like, I need it really badly right now. I haven't had it in 9 months.
You on the internet, and you're just
what?
That I'm trying to protect you.
I know you are, but you know what? Here's the deal. Like, okay, they want, they don't need it. Nobody needs anything. You're absolutely right. Nobody needs anything. But people, what people do need, and this is something that I wanted to talk to you about, is in talking about some fears we have in aging, is in your 30s, I think a lot of women start thinking about, as you just mentioned, Botox, preventative things as they age. So they say that if you start Botox at an earlier age, it prevents more lines from occurring as you get older. I don't have the scientific information in front of me. That's what I've heard.
Yes, but I think, so we're focusing a lot on appearance. I think the
That's
biggest
okay.
fear for people in their 30s is more about time and life decisions and regrets and things like that than it is about beauty, because we're still pretty
Beautiful.
young.
Mhm.
So my fears about aging are much more related to how do I do things now to make sure that I have the life I want, versus how do I do things now to make sure I like the way I look in 20 years. Like, I'm much more worried about where I live and my career path and who I end up with than I am what am I gonna look like or getting preventative Botox.
Okay. But in talking about preventative care, not necessarily Botox or filler or anything that, but also preventative care, like what you do, like working out. Do you find that there, I know everybody's
I don't
working
feel
out.
like I am not working out to not age. In terms of preventative things that I do, I don't feel like any of it is preventative. I feel like most of it is retroactive. I have gray hair, I cover it up. It's extremely annoying. I have been trying to sleep on my back recently instead of my face because I'm a face sleeper and I know that causes wrinkles. And I wear more sunscreen now than I used to. But again, I wear more sunscreen than I used to because I have melasma currently, not because I'm worried about wrinkles in the future. I am worried about wrinkles in the future, but it's so low on my list of worries.
Mm.
It's just not top of mind. I'm much more worried about my job, dating. How do I build the foundation now for the life that I want to have in the future than I am worried about the appearance part of it.
And therein lies the difference between a 30-year-old and a 62-year-old,
Yeah,
because
you're kind of like, this is
I'm
your
going
life.
out, I'm starting to go out to the pasture a little bit.
No,
I'm like,
you know what I
I'm
mean?
like on Yellowstone. I'm on the horse with Kevin Costner.
You're
And
not making plans for 20 years from now.
well, that makes me so sad. You're going to make me cry. I think I've cried in every episode with you so far, so I'm not going to cry this one. Uh, no, I'm not making plans for 20 years from now, but I am going to live until I'm 120. But we'll see how that
That's
goes.
fine, but I don't think you're going to move to a new state and start a new career in 20 years. Are you?
I don't know. I don't
Okay.
know. I don't know. I could,
You
because if you told me that I would be doing what I'm doing right now at 55, I would have said, what? No way. I
Well, and
would.
I don't feel that the decisions I make now I'm stuck with forever, but I do realize that the decisions I make now very much impact the rest of my life. Like right now, I am 30 years old, single, living in New York, running my own business. I could go anywhere. Like I have
Right.
no idea where life is going to take me. Whereas you have a couple more routes, a couple more things tying you
Yeah.
down than I do. Like I have literally no idea where this could go.
What's
So
tying me down? My children are grown. What's tying me down? That didn't make any sense.
your husband,
Well,
I don't know.
yeah. I could go wherever I want to go. He can follow me eventually. But yes, other than that, I don't have any more family here. My children are grown. So
Yeah, you
it's
still haven't moved to Florida.
what's
Interesting.
up?
I said, yet you still haven't moved to Florida.
Because I'm not sure where I want to live. There's a part of me that just wants to move to Italy.
Okay.
into
I would love that.
one of the oh, remember I talked to you about those blue states, the
What do you
blue
eat in Italy, Mom?
fish, fresh vegetables, wine. Like, hello, it's beautiful there.
Okay,
So
to Italy. I'll come visit you in the summers.
I mean, I am almost thinking that, like, forget Florida. Everybody's in Florida right now. Why do I want to go where everybody is? I don't
Well, no,
really like,
everyone's in
if you,
Italy right now.
well, right this moment, yes, right this moment in the month of July, the world is in Italy. Yes, I understand. And in August, they'll all be in Greece. So I'm just saying that overall, for me, what I wasn't thinking when I was your age, yes, we were in different situations. I had a child already and I was married, so I had a different type of outlook on
Right,
life.
you
But
were
what,
married with a house and a child. You were kind of
and
like,
living in
my life.
suburbia, right?
Right. I have not yet reached the point. I guess that's more what I'm saying. So
Yeah,
let's take you at 30, you have a child, you're trying for a second, you own a house. I think your husband was in law school. You were kind of like, this is it. Like, this is where we live. This is what we do.
right,
This is life for
right,
probably the next 20 years.
right,
I
right.
have not yet reached that point where I'm
And
like, this is my life. I still feel like I'm building up to it. So
I think that's so exciting. I do. I think, to me, like, I'm excited for what's next for you. And so I am. I mean, like I said, the 30s, that whole decade is a really cool decade. I think you really, as much as you think that in your 20s you're starting to figure things out, I think your 20s are all about experiences leading you to your 30s, where you figure it all out and you start becoming really who it is that you like being, and having those people around in your life. And it's a really fun time. It just gets more and more fun as you get older. We are almost done. We have a couple of minutes left, but I did want to throw in, this is a point I've been trying to make. God bless you.
thank you.
Is, oh, I couldn't even hear you sneeze.
I held it in because we're on a podcast.
Oh, okay. Well, they take it out. They could edit it out. The other thing that I wanted to add as more of a preventative thing, we could get into it on another show. I think we touch on it like every show, is that fitness, working out. You started it at the beginning of the show. Working out has always been a priority for you. And although you didn't start working out because you thought, well, I want to prevent osteoporosis, I do want to say that, start working out as early as is safely for you to work out. After you've gone through puberty, it's a good time to start doing weight bearing exercises, because it does help you age more healthfully as you get older. It does help prevent injury and osteoporosis. For me, as an aging woman, one of the biggest fears that I always heard from my clients, and now that I'm 62, is, the fear of falling. And I'm so glad that I've been working out for over 40 years, and you will be too, Lexi. So that's a PSA about working out and having a healthy lifestyle.
Yeah,
Lex,
osteoporosis is not really on my radar currently.
no, it wasn't on mine either. I just worked out because I really just loved the way it made me feel internally and externally. So I think we have touched upon our fears. I think fears is always going to come up in every episode, because I think that there is always some type of fear of what's next, right? What's next? And we don't always know what's next. For me, I get excited about, oh, what's around the corner? That's cool. That's exciting.
I think what we're learning is you're not normal.
That's not fair. I do get excited, but it is hard for me to end things.
Yes, you're very
Okay. Okay. So you're very good at ending things,
I wouldn't say very good.
better than me, that you have to push me. For me, I realize when things are ending, in overall life things, relationships, whatever. And it takes me a long time to let go.
Yes.
But when I do, because I knew deep down to always trust your gut. So I want to leave you with that. You could say something about, we have 1 minute left.
No, Mom, why don't you tell everyone where they can find us?
No, why don't you do it, Lexi? Come on.
It's your job.
Okay, well, first of all, I want to thank you all for joining us today to the Old Podcast. We are Lexi Harrison and Jody Harrison Bauer. You can find me at Jody Harrison Bauer on all my social media platforms. You could also find us on YouTube at Jody Harrison Bauer. Please remember to rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts. And I think that's it. I always forget one thing. Is that it?
Not at all this time. Good job.
Oh, wow, look at that. Okay.
Why we let the pros do it.
Thank you so much for joining us, and we will catch you next week. Bye-bye, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your week.